The shuttle drifted into Earth's orbit with quiet confidence. Its silver body reflected the blue of the planet below, smooth and untouched, as if it had never known danger. Inside, the members of the Galactic Survey Council watched the world with bored interest. For them, this was just another routine stop. Talek stood near the wide viewing window, his thin hands folded behind his back. His skin shimmered faintly under the ship's lights, a sign of calm in his species. He had reviewed the files already. Earth was listed as a Class Green world, mild gravity, stable star, limited environmental threats, primitive technology by galactic standards. The most notable thing about it was how unremarkable it was. Such a quiet planet, Talric said. His voice was smooth and flat. Hard to believe anything intelligent could come from a place so gentle. Several other council members nodded. One of them, a small being with long eyes named Rhine, tilted their head and zoomed the image closer. Clouds rolled over vast oceans. Land masses shifted slowly beneath the sunlight. The gravity is slightly higher than council average, Rhine said, but still within comfort range. Taurix gave a soft clicking sound that passed for laughter. Slightly higher does not mean dangerous. The creatures here evolved slowly, without pressure. They live soft lives. The shuttle began its descent toward a mountain range dotted with snow. Hidden within the rock was the Human Research Station, chosen as the meeting point for first contact. The humans had insisted on it. They said it was safer that way. Talix found that amusing. The landing was smooth. The airlock opened, and a wave of warm, breathable air filled the chamber. Sensors confirmed what the files promised. Oxygen-rich. No toxins. Mild temperature. This world feels unfinished, Talix muttered as he stepped forward. Waiting inside the airlock was a small group of humans. They stood upright, balanced on two legs, their bodies dense and compact. At the front was a man with short dark hair and tired eyes. He wore a simple uniform and a polite expression. "I'm Evan," the man said. "Welcome to Earth." Talix studied him. Evan was smaller than expected. No visible armor. No natural weapons. His skin showed signs of wear, tiny scars and marks that hinted at injury and healing. Talix assumed they were accidents, proof of clumsiness, rather than strength.
"We will not stay long," Talric said. "This is an evaluation visit only."
Evan nodded. "Of course, we're happy to answer any questions." As they moved deeper into the station, Talrix noticed the walls. They were thick, made of layered alloy and stone. Support beams ran along the ceiling, heavy and reinforced. "Is this structure necessary?" Talix asked. "Our scans show no tectonic danger in this area." Evan glanced up at the ceiling. "It's just standard safety." Talric stored that answer but did not question it further. Humans, he decided, were cautious by nature. Weak creatures often were. The council members were led through long corridors, past sealed doors and humming machines. The station was active, full of human movement. Some carried equipment that looked heavy. Others pushed carts loaded with supplies. None of them seemed to struggle. Talix noticed this but dismissed it. Machines likely assisted them. In the main observation hall, a wide room carved into the mountain, the council gathered around a central table. A large display lit up, showing Earth from orbit again, along with data streams and graphs. Talix began the formal evaluation. "Earth's climate patterns show limited extremes," he said. "Storm systems are localized. Temperature range is narrow compared to most inhabited worlds. A human scientist nearby shifted slightly, but said nothing. Your planet's gravity is higher than average, Talrix continued, yet your species shows no signs of structural stress. Curious, but not remarkable. Evan stood quietly near the edge of the room, listening. Life here evolved without constant threat, Talrix said. No planet-wide radiation events. No frequent asteroid impacts. Limited predation pressure. Rin glanced at another screen. There is a history of natural disasters, they said carefully. Quakes, floods, volcanic activity. Talrix waved a hand. Minor events. Nothing sustained. This world is mild. The word echoed slightly in the large room. At that moment, a low hum passed through the station. It was brief, almost like a breath. Several human technicians looked up from their work. Talrix paused. What was that? Evan checked a small device on his wrist. Pressure shift. Nothing serious. The council members exchanged glances. Their sensors showed a tiny fluctuation in the station's structure. It was so small that most would have ignored it, but Talrix frowned.
Your walls are under strain, he said. Why?
They always are, a little. Talrix did not like vague answers. Explain? Before Evan could respond, another human walked in, carrying a crate that looked far too heavy for his size. He set it down with a dull thud and wiped his hands on his uniform. Sorry, the man said to no one in particular. Supply drop was late. Talrix stared. The crate's weight reading flashed briefly on his display. It exceeded what a single human should have been able to lift safely. Is that typical? Talrix asked. Evan followed his gaze. Yeah?
It's normal. Normal.
The word sat strangely with Talrix. The evaluation continued, but small details began to stack up. A human leaned against a reinforced door, bending it slightly out of alignment. Another adjusted a support brace by hand, tightening it with a sharp pull instead of a tool. Talrix told himself it was illusion. His species was more delicate. Everything looked strong by comparison. As the hours passed, the air inside the station changed. The filters adjusted to alien biology, releasing trace compounds meant to balance humidity and scent. Evan rubbed his nose once, then again. Evan died. Rin noticed. Is something wrong? Evan shook his head. Allergies. Happens sometimes. Talrix had no idea what that meant, but he logged it anyway. They moved into a narrower corridor, one that ran close to the outer wall of the mountain. The rock pressed in on both sides, heavy and ancient. Talrix felt a faint pressure against his senses. Not danger. Just wait. Why build inside stone? Talrix asked. Open structures would be more efficient. Evan smiled faintly. Stone doesn't move much. Usually. Talrix stopped walking. Usually? Another hum passed through the corridor. This time it was stronger. A low vibration that traveled through the floor and into Talrix's legs. The lights flickered once. Alarms did not sound. Humans barely reacted. Talrix turned sharply. Explain that. Evan took a breath, clearly choosing his words. The planet shifts. We adapt. Talrix felt irritation rise. Your data does not show. Evan's breath caught suddenly. His face tightened. He brought a hand up to his mouth and turned slightly away. Talrix stepped back, startled. What is happening to him? No signs of attack. Internal pressure spike in the chest cavity. Evan's body tensed. The sound that followed was sharp and violent, a sudden release of air that echoed through the corridor. The sneeze was loud. Evan stumbled forward, one hand slamming into the wall to steady himself. There was a cracking sound. At first, Talrix thought it was his translator malfunctioning. Then he saw it. A thin line spread across the alloy wall, starting from the point where Evan's hand had struck. The line branched, splitting into smaller fractures that crept outward like ice on glass. The corridor went silent. Lights along the ceiling flashed red for half a second, then returned to normal. Somewhere deep in the station, a warning chime sounded and then stopped. Talek stared at the wall, his display filled with alerts. Structural integrity drop, localized force spike, material failure. That wall, Talrix said slowly, is rated to withstand heavy machinery impact. Evan lowered his hand, eyes wide. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Talrix raised an arm sharply. Do not move. Security drones slid out of hidden panels in the ceiling, weapons charging with a low whine. Ryan backed away, eyes fixed on Evan. Talix's mind raced. No weapon discharge. No explosive residue. Just a biological action and physical contact. That was not mild, Talrix said. Evan swallowed. It was just a sneeze. Talrix looked at the cracked wall again, then at the human standing in front of him, breathing normally, eyes watering slightly from irritation. For the first time since arriving, Talrix felt something unfamiliar, unease. Outside, deep within the mountain, stone shifted quietly against stone, as it always did. The air in the corridor was tense. Talrix, normally calm and composed, stood frozen, staring at the web of cracks spreading across the wall. The other council members whispered among themselves, their voices a strange mixture of disbelief and fear. Rin stepped closer, scanning the wall with their instruments. The data readings blinked in rapid succession, numbers fluctuating wildly. Materials that were supposed to resist immense pressures were now fractured by a single human gesture. Evan, still catching his breath, stepped back from the wall. His cheeks were pink from the sudden exertion, and his hand trembled slightly.
I didn't... I mean, it was just a sneeze, he said, his voice small in the tense space.
He looked at the council members. Their expressions were unreadable, alien, but he could feel their shock pressing against him like a physical weight. Talrix's eyes narrowed. A sneeze? You expect me to believe that a minor biological action of yours could compromise reinforced structural alloy? He said, his voice tight and incredulous. This is impossible? Evan shook his head. I don't know what to say. It just happened. His gaze flicked to the cracks, now crawling like tiny lightning bolts across the metallic surface. He could feel the wall giving slightly under his fingertips, but he wasn't weak. The strange thing was that the wall hadn't collapsed, and yet it had changed, altered by the force of something so ordinary for him. Rhyme spoke up again, their voice measured but tense. The structural force was far beyond what the wall should handle. This is an anomaly. A single human action caused more damage than our predicted simulations of seismic events here. Talrix took a step forward, hovering his hand over the broken metal, careful not to touch it. Our instruments were wrong. These creatures, they cannot be as strong as they appear. Something must be masking the true scale of their force. Other humans were now gathering along the corridor, drawn by the sound of the sneeze and the strange hum of alarms. They looked at Evan and then at the cracks, their expressions a mixture of curiosity and amusement. Some even laughed softly, shaking their heads as if nothing extraordinary had happened. One of them, a tall man with a thick beard named Lucas, stepped forward. You all are overreacting. Walls get cracks sometimes. This one will hold. He pressed his hand against the metal near the edge of the fracture. The wall didn't collapse. Instead, it resisted with a slow, deliberate tension, like it had absorbed the energy and redistributed it. Talix's hand twitched, a sign of rising irritation. This resistance, it should not exist. The material is rated for 10 times less than what occurred. How is it still standing? Lucas shrugged casually. We build things to last. We know how to take care of them. Humans know their limits, and we respect them. Sometimes things break, and we fix them. That's normal. Talrix turned sharply to Evan, his glowing eyes narrowing. Explain to me. Your kind is weak. Your bodies are fragile. Yet here, a sneeze fractures walls designed to resist far greater forces. You call this normal? Evan raised his hands in a gesture of helplessness. Ah,
I told you I don't know. This is just how it works.
humans, we survive, we adapt. Things that seem fragile sometimes aren't. Maybe it's the way we are built. Maybe it's just luck. Talrix let out a harsh clicking sound, frustration and disbelief combining into a low, vibrating noise. Luck does not break reinforced alloy. You underestimate the anomaly of this species. We will need a full analysis of every human in this station, every movement, every biological function. Nothing will be left unchecked. Lucas laughed again, though softer this time. A warm human chuckle that carried no fear. You'll need to take it easy. Humans aren't machines. We sneeze, we cough, we get tired. And sometimes, yeah, it messes with your fancy instruments. That's life. Ryan turned from the wall to face Talrix, their voice calm but insistent. Sir, the readings cannot be ignored. These creatures are stronger than we predicted. Every simulation, every calculation was off. This isn't exaggeration or error. The human species may be far more resilient than our assessments. Talrix's head tilted, his skin flickering with a pale glow.
Resilient. Yes, but how much?
This incident alone shows potential for catastrophic force. If their ordinary actions fracture materials rated for extreme conditions, then what can they do in actual conflict?
Evan stepped forward, still cautious. We're not trying to fight anyone.
We survive because we have to. We deal with storms, with earthquakes, with sickness. We get hurt, and we heal. That's life. It doesn't make us dangerous, just able to handle what comes. Talix's eyes narrowed further, the glow intensifying. Able or unpredictable? Your kind cannot be catalogued as mild if your natural force exceeds our most extreme calculations. This is dangerous. At that moment, a low vibration passed through the floor again. It was faint, but the council members noticed. The sensors flashed briefly, showing minor energy waves emanating from the cracks. They weren't enough to threaten the building, but they were measurable. Another human, a woman with short brown hair named Mara, stepped forward. The walls are designed to flex a little, she said. That's how we survive shifts in the earth. A little crack doesn't mean the whole thing collapses. It's supposed to happen. It's fine. Talrix's jaw flexed. Supposed to happen? Your construction standards are primitive. Yet your bodies, your reactions, defy everything we expected. You are not mild. You are unstable. The other council members murmured among themselves, the confusion and alarm growing. Ryan's eyes scanned Evan and Mara and the other humans. The readings continued to spike sporadically. though no human made any effort to do anything violent. Every normal movement caused unpredictable effects on the environment. Talix turned to the humans. Explain this. Why does a minor sneeze, a simple touch, cause structural compromise?
We don't really think about it. We live with it.
Walls, floors, things break sometimes. We fix them. Sometimes we move objects heavier than us. We survive. That's all. Talix's fingers twitched, almost reaching for his communication console to call for reinforcements. He felt the need to record every action, every strain, every vibration. This species could not be mild. The risk of underestimating them was too high. Suddenly, there was a sound at the far end of the corridor, a low metallic groan that echoed through the stone walls of the mountain. Several humans looked up casually. To them, it was nothing unusual. For Talrix and the council, it was alarming. "What now?" Talrix asked, his voice sharp, almost harsh. Evan moved slightly, his hand brushing against the railing. The tremor it caused was small, barely noticeable to a human, but the instruments lit up with readings of stress far beyond normal limits. The council members flinched. Lucas looked at Talrix, smiling faintly. "See? It happens. Humans live with this all the time. You'll get used to it." Talrix's head tilted sharply. "Used to it? I have never encountered a species that destabilizes their own environment with ordinary biological function. This is alarming." Rin spoke cautiously. "Perhaps we should continue the evaluation, sir, but with extra caution. Even minor interactions could have unpredictable effects." Halric's skin shimmered faintly, a sign of rising tension. "Precaution is useless. Halric's is useless. The anomaly is inherent. Every human movement has potential for structural compromise."
We need containment protocols. Evan, sensing the rising panic, tried to calm the council members.
"Please, we're not dangerous. You don't need containment. The cracks aren't growing out of control. The walls are fine. It's just normal for us." Talrix's eyes flashed. "Normal? Normal fractures, reinforced alloy? You speak of normal as if it explains the impossible." The humans exchanged glances, a mixture of amusement and confusion at the aliens' reactions. To them, Evan's sneeze and the cracks were just another example of human life adjusting to the environment. Another vibration passed through the floor, slightly stronger this time. The council instruments registered it as a minor seismic event. Talix's hand shot out to stabilize his console. "Enough. This species cannot be cataloged as mild. Our classification is clearly incorrect." Mara raised her hands in a gesture of calm. "We're not trying to cause problems. We live with the planet. We survive it every day. You're just seeing it all at once. That's why it seems strange." Talrix turned sharply to her, his eyes glowing brighter. "Strange? This is not strange. This is a warning. The human species cannot be underestimated. Every ordinary action has potential to exceed our expectations." "You are powerful?" The corridor remained quiet for a moment. The cracks in the wall spidered outward slowly, stable, yet undeniable. Talix and the council stared, their instruments screaming anomalies. The humans remained calm, almost indifferent. Lucas chuckled softly. "Powerful? We just live. That's all. The world teaches us to handle what comes. We don't have to be dangerous to be strong. You'll see." "Ah!" Talrix's mind raced, recording every reading, every vibration, every tremor. The humans were more than they appeared. What they had witnessed in a single sneeze and a simple touch was only the beginning. This species had survived against pressures and challenges that no council member could have predicted. Talrix realized then that cataloging this world as mild was a mistake. The sensors, the data, the analysis, none of it could measure the true resilience of humans. He glanced at Evan, who was now standing quietly, wiping his nose, completely unaware of the significance of what had just happened. Rin's voice was quiet but firm. Sir, I think we need to reevaluate everything. The planet may appear mild, but the inhabitants, they are not. Indeed, this changes everything. The humans began moving down the corridor again, some adjusting panels, others carrying tools, all as if nothing had happened. Talrix watched them, noting every movement, every shift of weight, every tremor. The more he observed, the more he understood that humans could not be measured like any other species. They were unpredictable, resilient, and dangerous in ways that did not fit the Council's understanding. Evan turned to the others, brushing imaginary dust from his uniform. Let's get back to work. Nothing to worry about. Talrix stayed where he was, staring at the fractured wall, his mind racing. A sneeze, he thought. A single human sneeze. And already they had proved everything he believed about Earth and its creatures wrong. This was only the beginning. The tension in the station did not fade. Talrix stood at the end of the corridor, his glowing eyes fixed on Evan and the humans around him. Every movement, every gesture seemed magnified. His instruments were still flashing warnings, each beep and number a reminder that this species did not fit any known scale. The cracks in the wall stretched outward slowly, but the structure remained standing. It was a paradox that the Council could not ignore. Rin moved closer to Talrix, their long eyes scanning the data again. Sir, even minor actions create unexpected effects. The humans seem naturally amplified. Their normal activities destabilize materials beyond expected limits. Talrix's thin fingers tapped against his console in rapid rhythm. This is unacceptable. An organism that exists in such a fragile environment cannot exert forces like this without potential risk to itself and its surroundings. Evan, standing quietly, watched them with calm interest. His sneeze had caused more reaction than he expected. To humans, it was just a momentary irritation, but the Council's response made him realize how different their understanding of strength was. He rubbed his nose and sighed, the action causing a tiny tremor on the floor that the instruments immediately recorded. Lucas, still carrying the crate he had moved earlier, leaned casually against a railing. You guys really need to relax. Nothing is breaking. The walls flex, the ground shifts a little, and that's all. We've built to survive this. Talrix turned sharply to him. Flex? This wall was rated to withstand forces far beyond your strength, yet you claim it is normal that a sneeze causes fractures. How can you exist in such conditions without destroying yourselves? We get used to it. We don't think about breaking walls. We just deal with whatever happens. You'll see soon enough. Rin stepped forward, scanning the humans one by one. I must admit, the Council's prediction of human fragility is wrong. Every specimen here is far stronger than anticipated. Our simulations cannot explain this resilience. Talrix's glow dimmed slightly as he processed this information. The Council had prepared for many possibilities: hostile species, rapid growth, environmental hazards, but never this. Humans were not aggressive or armed. They were simply durable, strong in ways that the Council had not accounted for. Suddenly, there was a low hum from deep within the mountain. The walls of the corridor vibrated faintly. Several humans barely noticed. To the council, it was alarming. The instruments recorded a spike in local energy, though no external threat was present. Evan glanced toward the ceiling. It's probably just the mountain settling. Happens all the time. Talrix's eyes narrowed. Settling? Your explanation does not match the scale of the readings. What you call normal is extraordinary. Another human, a young woman named Leah, stepped forward. She carried a heavy support brace over her shoulder, placing it carefully along the wall near the cracks. She tightened it by hand, her movements deliberate and precise. The council watched, their sensors tracking each motion. Despite the weight, she handled it easily, her small body exerting force that should have required machinery. Talrix's jaw flexed. Your kind's physical capacity defies logic. How many of you can perform feats like this without injury? Leah looked at him, tilting her head. We do what we need to. If it's too heavy, we find a way. If it's hard, we push through. That's all there is to it. Rin's voice was quiet. It seems they are accustomed to operating under conditions that would incapacitate most species. Their musculature, bone structure, even their reflexes, they are optimized for endurance and adaptability. Talrix's fingers tapped rapidly across the console. Optimization is irrelevant if it produces such unpredictable environmental stress. We cannot allow this station to continue without containment. Containment? Seriously? We've lived with this planet all our lives. We adapt. You'll get used to it too if you stick around. Talrix's glow flared slightly. This is not about comfort. It is about danger. One misstep, one miscalculation, and catastrophic failure is possible. Yet you continue as if nothing has occurred. Evan stepped forward. Look, we've built to survive shifts in the earth, seasonal changes, storms, earthquakes. Our bodies, our tools, our habits, they all work together. Things flex, they crack sometimes, but they don't fall apart. That's how we live. Talrix's eyes narrowed further. You call this living? You risk structural collapse and personal injury for habit?
Leah shrugged. Not habit.
It's survival. You adapt to what the world gives you. That's life. A sudden vibration shook the corridor slightly. The council's instruments flashed red again. Talrix felt his skin ripple in alarm. Every reading indicated a small but measurable energy spike. No machinery, no weapons, just humans moving and breathing. Ryan's voice was cautious. Sir, it seems that even the smallest biological functions produce measurable environmental effects. This is unprecedented. Talrix turned sharply. Unprecedented indeed. We will need to reevaluate all assumptions. Every model, every prediction. Wrong. The humans began moving again, adjusting panels, lifting supplies, bending supports, all in a routine manner. To them, this was normal work. To Talrix and the Council, it was a continuous display of latent power. Each motion carried force and impact far beyond what should be possible. Evan watched them, shaking his head slightly. I think they'll get it eventually, he muttered to Lucas.
It's hard to explain that we're just human. Lucas nodded.
Yeah, they're still learning. Talrix's glowing eyes followed every movement, cataloging, measuring, analyzing. He felt a strange unease building. Humans were not merely strong, they were unpredictable. Ordinary actions could cause extraordinary effects. The Council had no reference point for this, A sudden sound from deeper in the station, a loud groan of metal and stone, made Talix tense. Several humans glanced at it casually, as if acknowledging a passing nuisance. Instruments recorded a minor structural adjustment. Nothing catastrophic, yet enough to keep Talix on edge. "Sir," Ryan said quietly, "they are aware of these shifts and handle them instinctively. They integrate environmental stress into their actions naturally. They do not panic. They do not hesitate. Every step they take is informed by experience we cannot replicate." Talrix's hands clenched slightly. Experience or instinctive power? Their ability to survive forces beyond calculated limits. May be intentional or evolutionary, but it is unnerving.
Evan rubbed his eyes, blinking slowly. We don't think of it as unnerving.
We just live. That's what humans do. We survive, we adapt, we keep going. Lucas stepped closer to Talrix. "You're seeing what happens when you underestimate an entire species. Strength isn't always obvious. Sometimes it's quiet, and it shows up in the little things. A sneeze, a touch, a step. That's what you just saw." Talrix's glow dimmed and then flared again as he considered this. His mind ran through the simulations, the predictions, the expectations. Every calculation had failed. He had underestimated the humans, and it was not merely a miscalculation. It was a fundamental misunderstanding. The corridor vibrated again, faint but measurable. Another human, a young man named Derek, lifted a supply box with bare hands, placing it on a high shelf. Sensors recorded stress beyond safe thresholds, yet Derek remained uninjured. His movements were casual, effortless. Talix's voice was tight. "Explain to me. Your species can exert force far beyond expected levels and remain unharmed. Why? How is this possible?" "Because we have to. That's how humans survive. We grow used to things. We get stronger. We learn what we can handle. And we adapt. Nothing more complicated than that." Talrix's eyes narrowed further. "Adaptation to extreme stress should show limits, yet you have none. You are unpredictable." Rin's voice was quiet, almost a whisper. "Sir, they are extraordinary. The Council's assessment of mild is incorrect. These humans are capable of forces and endurance beyond any known species." Talrix's hands flexed. "If their normal actions can compromise reinforced structures, if their bodies can withstand extreme physical exertion without injury, then every assumption about this species must be reconsidered. They are a force unto themselves." The humans continued their work, unconcerned with the Council's alarms. Each step, each movement, each gesture carried the weight of survival instincts honed over millennia. They were unremarkable to themselves, yet extraordinary to any observer. Evan wiped his brow and glanced at Talrix. "We're not trying to be impressive. We just exist." Talrix's glowing eyes studied him carefully. "Existence, in your case, is hazardous to observation. I have never seen a species so resilient. So dangerous without even intending to be." "Lucas chuckled softly. "Maybe you just need to spend more time here. You'll learn what humans really are." Talix remained silent, cataloging every reading, every tremor, every fracture, every flex. The humans were teaching him a lesson in endurance, strength, and unpredictability. A single sneeze had been only the beginning, a small hint of the force they carried quietly within themselves. Ryan looked at Talrix with a mixture of awe and concern. Sir, the Council will have to reclassify this planet. These beings cannot be catalogued as mild. Taurix's glow flared brighter, a silent acknowledgement. Indeed, Earth is not mild, and we are only beginning to understand the extent of its inhabitants' resilience. Outside, the mountain pressed against the station, holding it steady yet reminding them all that nature itself had been tested and survived by the humans inside. Every crack, every tremor, every shift was a story of endurance, and Taurix was only beginning to read it. The humans moved past the cracked wall, carrying on with their work as if nothing unusual had occurred. Taurix watched them closely, recording every detail, knowing that this encounter had already changed everything he thought he understood about this world. This was a species that could not be underestimated, and the Council had barely begun to learn why. The main observation room was quiet, but the tension in the air was thick. Taurix and the Council members gathered around the display table, their eyes glued to the images of Earth and the readings from the station. Every instrument flashed warnings, but the humans around them moved normally, as if the alarms were meaningless. Evan stood at the edge of the room, adjusting some sensors while keeping an eye on the Council. He had begun to understand that the aliens' reaction to a simple sneeze had created more chaos than anything else in the station. To humans, it had been just a momentary disruption. To the Council, it was proof that their assumptions about human fragility were entirely wrong. "I then know sign now." Rhine, scanning the readings again, whispered, "Sir, the calculations were completely wrong. We assumed humans would be limited by bone structure, muscle mass, and environmental factors. But every human here has exceeded those limits." Taurix's glow flared, a sign of rising tension. Limits do not exist in their case. Every previous model, every simulation we have used, is invalid. This species is unpredictable. Lucas walked past casually, carrying a toolbox that looked far heavier than what a human should handle alone. He set it down and tightened a support beam with his hands. Taurix's sensors immediately recorded an energy spike beyond safe thresholds. "Your species is extraordinary," Taurix said, his voice low, almost trembling. "How do you perform tasks that should destroy your own bodies?"
We don't think about it. We just do it.
"The world isn't gentle. You get used to what it throws at you." Evan stepped forward. "He's right. We don't worry about limits. We survive by handling what comes our way, day by day. That's how humans have always done it. Survival does not explain the forces you exert naturally. A sneeze, a touch, lifting objects beyond normal capacity. Your kind is a living anomaly. I need answers." Leah, who had been quietly adjusting panels, looked at him calmly. "We adapt. The planet is never perfectly stable. You're seeing what happens when humans live with it all the time. We adjust our strength, our balance, even our breathing, without thinking about it." Rin turned to Taurix, their expression solemn. "Sir, these creatures are not just strong. They are designed for endurance. Their bodies, their instincts, and their reactions are optimized for survival under constant environmental stress. Even small actions create measurable impact." Taurix's hands flexed, tapping on the console rapidly. "Optimized for survival, yes, but this is dangerous. The Council assumed Earth was mild. Our classification must be wrong. These humans are capable of exceeding predicted limits without tools, without weapons. This is unprecedented." Suddenly, a low vibration passed through the observation room. The walls shivered slightly, lights flickering, Humans barely noticed. One, a young man named Derek, stepped over to a heavy monitor and adjusted it by lifting it with his bare hands. The instruments immediately recorded strain levels higher than the station should tolerate. See? That's normal for us. Nothing is breaking. We're used to this. Talix turned sharply. Normal? Normal fractures alloy rated for extreme stress? Normal lifts objects far beyond safe thresholds? You claim this is normal? Leah smiled faintly. It's normal for us because we've lived with it all our lives.
We adapt. That's what survival means.
Ryan whispered, Sir, the Council's view of humans as mild was completely inaccurate. Their endurance and force are far beyond what we predicted. Each individual here is capable of environmental impact on a scale previously thought impossible. Talrix's glow pulsed, faster and brighter. Impossible. It cannot be explained. A sneeze alone compromised structural integrity. Their bodies can lift, bend, and resist forces that would harm any other known species.
This extraordinary. But
Lucas chuckled softly. We're not extraordinary.
We just live with the planet, deal with its challenges. You're just seeing it all at once. That's why it's strange. Talrix's gaze sharpened. Strange is a polite word. I call it dangerous. A species that destabilizes its own environment without intent is a potential hazard, even to itself. Evan moved closer. We're not a hazard. We survive by understanding limits, by adapting. We don't fight. We endure. That's all. Talrix's fingers flexed on the console. Your endurance defies reason. Your species cannot be cataloged as mild. Every action, every motion, is a test of limits we cannot define. We underestimated you. Rhyme nodded slowly. The Council must reclassify this world. Humans cannot be measured by our usual metrics. Their strength, resilience, and adaptability are outside all known parameters. Talrix turned his glowing eyes to the humans, who were now moving equipment, adjusting panels, and walking lightly across the room. Each step, each lift, each gesture sent energy fluctuations through the station. The Council's instruments recorded them all, but the humans were unfazed. Evan wiped his hands on his uniform. We're just doing our work, nothing special. Talrix's voice was low, tense. You underestimate the significance of your own existence. Your natural actions exceed all expected limits. The Council assumed you were mild. That assumption was incorrect.
Lucas grinned. You'll learn soon.
Humans aren't mild. We just survive. That's the difference. A sudden groan echoed from deep within the mountain. The walls of the station vibrated faintly. Alarms beeped softly. Alarms beeped softly. Humans barely glanced at it. To the Council, it was terrifying. The readings indicated minor structural shifts, but the humans moved with calm precision, stabilizing equipment and readjusting supports. Leah stepped forward, lifting a heavy brace to reinforce a cracked panel. The Council's sensors recorded a spike far above safe levels, yet Leah remained unharmed, calm, and steady. Talrix's glow flared brighter. How do you resist forces that would destroy other species? Your body should fail. Your environment should collapse under such exertion. And yet you continue unaffected. Evan smiled faintly. We've adapted. We live with the planet, with the weather, with the earth. We grow used to its challenges.
That's how we survive, Rin whispered. They do not only survive, they thrive.
Their bodies, instincts, and reactions work together perfectly. Ordinary actions are amplified into forces beyond predicted limits. Talrix's pulse quickened, a low vibration through his skin. This species is a living anomaly. Every calculation, every assumption, every prediction we have made is invalid. Humans are beyond measure. The humans move past the cracked wall, carrying tools and adjusting panels. Each motion created subtle vibrations, small cracks forming and stabilizing in ways the Council's instruments could not predict. The humans noticed them casually, repairing and reinforcing as they went. Lucas leaned against a panel, smiling faintly. See? Nothing is breaking. We deal with it every day. You'll get used to it, too. Talrix's glow dimmed slightly as he recorded every reading. Each human action, each subtle shift, each crack and repair was evidence of a species that defied expectations. They were not aggressive. They were not armed. Yet their strength, endurance, and adaptability were far beyond what the Council had ever imagined. Evan wiped his brow, blinking slowly. We don't think of ourselves as powerful. We just live and survive. Existence itself is hazardous in your case. You exert forces beyond all known parameters, yet remain unharmed. You are extraordinary in ways we cannot measure. Lucas chuckled softly. You'll see. Humans aren't dangerous because we want to be. We're dangerous because we survive, and we don't know our own strength until the world tests us. Talix stayed silent, cataloging every movement, every vibration, every strain. The humans were teaching him a lesson about endurance and unpredictability. A sneeze had begun it, but the display of their resilience continued endlessly. Ryan looked at Talrix. Sir, we must consider that the Council's classification of Earth as mild is completely invalid. The humans' capabilities exceed any known scale. They are beyond assessment by conventional measures. Talrix's glow flared brightly, a signal of realization and unease.
Indeed.
Earth is not mild. Its inhabitants are a force unto themselves, and the Council has barely begun to understand them. The humans moved about the observation room, continuing their work as if the alarms and instruments had no meaning. Each action was precise, calm, and deliberate. Talix recorded every detail, knowing that their resilience, strength, and adaptability were something the Council would never have anticipated. The mountain around the station pressed firmly, holding the structure steady, as if acknowledging the humans' quiet power. Every crack, every tremor, every adjustment spoke of survival honed over millennia. Talix realized that the Council's assumptions had been entirely wrong. The humans were not mild. They were not weak. They were extraordinary. And the Council was only beginning to understand it. The station hummed with quiet activity as humans moved through the corridors, carrying tools, lifting supplies, and adjusting equipment with ease. Talix and the other Council members followed closely, their eyes never leaving the humans. Each step, each gesture seemed amplified, creating small vibrations that the instruments immediately recorded. The cracks in walls and support beams had stabilized, yet the Council's warnings continued to flash. Unable to reconcile the readings with the calmness of the humans, Evan walked ahead, carrying a small container of instruments. He glanced back at the Council, sensing their growing unease. "Everything okay?" he asked, trying to keep his tone light. The aliens ignored him, their focus fixed on the ongoing movement and subtle shifts in the station. Lucas lifted a crate onto a high shelf with one hand, his movements smooth and deliberate. The Council's sensors went wild with readings far beyond safe thresholds. Talrix stepped closer, his glowing eyes fixed on Lucas. "How do you perform such tasks without injury?" How is this possible? We do what we need to. Nothing special. We've trained our bodies to handle the work. That's how we survive. Leah, moving along a different corridor, bent a metal support brace into position with her bare hands. Talric's instruments registered stress levels that would have broken any alien equipment, yet she stood steady, unharmed. You see? She said softly to the council. We just do what's needed. That's all there is to it. Rin adjusted their scanner, speaking quietly. Sir, their actions are precise and deliberate. Every movement accounts for environmental stress. They are aware of forces we cannot even calculate, yet they control them instinctively. Talrix's glow pulsed faster and brighter, instinctive control of forces beyond measurement. This species defies every principle we know. Their endurance, their strength, their adaptability. Nothing in our simulations predicted this. Evan walked toward a heavy panel that had shifted slightly from the tremors earlier. He lifted it effortlessly and secured it in place. See? Nothing to worry about. Just doing our work. Talrix clenched his hands. Whoa. This is more than work. Ordinary humans perform extraordinary feats without even realizing it. This is dangerous. Lucas laughed softly. Dangerous? We're just alive. We survive because we have to, not because we want to fight or conquer.
You're reading too much into it. Rin glanced at the instruments again, then at Talrix.
Sir, these readings indicate that even normal human activity can destabilize materials rated far beyond their size and strength. Yet they remain unharmed. Their biology and instincts are unmatched. Talric's glow brightened sharply. Unmatched, yes. They are unpredictable and strong. We cannot classify them as mild. This entire mission needs re-evaluation. Evan approached, adjusting some wiring along the walls. Each subtle twist and pull caused vibrations that the council recorded instantly. He looked back at them. I don't understand why you're so worried. This is normal for us. Walls flex, things crack. We fix them. That's how we live. Talrix's eyes narrowed. Normal? Normal fractures reinforced alloy rated for extreme stress? Normal lifts far beyond natural capacity? How can this be normal? Leah bent a brace further, her hands steady and calm. It's normal for us because we've lived with it for generations. We adapt. That's survival. Rin whispered again. Their resilience, strength, and adaptability exceed anything known. They are capable of environmental impact we cannot replicate. Ordinary gestures are amplified into forces beyond any standard scale. Talrix's hands flexed on the console. Extraordinary, yes. Unpredictable, yes. Dangerous, yes.
Every human here proves our assumptions wrong. Each individual is a force unto themselves.
Suddenly, a tremor ran through the station. The walls vibrated, alarms beeped softly, and instruments recorded minor but measurable shifts. Humans barely noticed. Derek lifted a heavy supply box and placed it on a high shelf. Talix's instruments went wild again. How do you resist forces that would destroy any other species? Talix demanded, his voice tight. Evan smiled faintly.
We get used to it. We survive because we live with it all the time. That's all there is to it.
Lucas leaned against a support beam, smiling at the council. You'll see soon enough. Humans aren't dangerous because we fight. We're strong because we survive. Talrix studied every human action carefully. The sneeze that had cracked the wall was only the beginning. Every lift, Every adjustment, every movement was a display of latent power. Each action tested the limits of the station and the council's instruments. Ryan whispered, "Sir, these beings integrate environmental stress into their movements instinctively. They thrive under conditions that would incapacitate others. Their reactions are precise and deliberate, yet effortless." Taurix's glow flared, a mixture of realization and tension. This species cannot be catalogued. They exceed every measurement. They are beyond assessment. Earth is not mild. Its inhabitants are forces unto themselves. Evan wiped his brow, glancing at Taurix. "We're not trying to impress anyone. We just exist. That's all." Balrix's eyes studied him carefully. "Existence itself is hazardous. You exert forces far beyond any expected limits and remain unharmed. The Council underestimated you entirely." Lucas chuckled softly. "You'll see. Humans survive because they must, not because they want to be impressive. Our strength is quiet, but real." The humans continued their work, moving tools, adjusting supports, lifting equipment, all while the Council's instruments recorded strain levels far beyond predicted thresholds. Each subtle action created vibrations that instruments could measure, but humans barely noticed. Talix remained focused, cataloging every reading. Each tremor, each shift, each adjustment was evidence of the human's extraordinary endurance and adaptability. The Council had predicted mild resilience, yet the reality far surpassed any expectations. Evan moved toward a panel that had been slightly dislodged. He lifted it and secured it, causing a brief spike in the instruments. "See? Nothing to worry about. Just doing what's needed." Taurix's glow pulsed, a low hum of tension. "Doing what's needed. Yes. But ordinary actions of your kind defy every principle we understand. You are extraordinary in ways that cannot be measured." Rin nodded slowly. "Sir, every individual here demonstrates capacity beyond known limits. Humans cannot be catalogued or predicted. They operate outside our understanding." Taurix turned to the humans, his glowing eyes fixed on each of them. "You do not fight, yet your strength exceeds all expectations. You do not intend to destroy, yet your presence alters the environment."
This species is dangerous in ways we cannot measure.
Leah smiled softly. "We don't think about it. We just live. The world tests us, and we adjust. That's all there is to it." Taurix's hands flexed on the console. "Adjusting, surviving, thriving under conditions that should harm you. Every action proves the Council's assumption wrong. We cannot underestimate you." Lucas grinned. "You'll learn soon enough. Humans survive because we adapt. That's our strength. You don't need to understand it. You just need to respect it." The station hummed with life. Humans moving calmly, carrying out tasks that tested instruments and walls alike. Every subtle shift, every adjustment, every lift was a quiet demonstration of strength and endurance. Taurix watched them closely, realizing that a sneeze had been only the first indication. Every action that followed showed him that humans were far stronger, far more resilient, and far more capable than the Council had predicted. The mountain around the station pressed firmly, stabilizing the structure as if it recognized the humans' quiet power. Taurix knew that their assumptions about Earth were wrong. Humans were not mild, and they were not weak. They were extraordinary. Ryan's voice was quiet, almost in awe. "Sir, the Council must reclassify this world. The humans' capabilities exceed any known scale. Their endurance, adaptability, and strength are beyond prediction." Talrix's glow flared brightly, a mixture of tension and realization. Indeed, Earth is not mild. Its inhabitants are forces unto themselves, and the Council is only beginning to understand why. Evan and the others moved calmly, carrying out their work as if nothing unusual had happened. Each gesture, each motion, each adjustment was measured, deliberate, and precise. Talix cataloged every detail, knowing that humans had taught him a lesson in endurance, unpredictability, and quiet strength. The station held, the walls stable but marked with cracks that told stories of resilience. The humans worked without pause, demonstrating that survival required adaptation, that strength could be quiet, and that ordinary actions could produce extraordinary effects. Talrix realized that the Council's classification of Earth as mild was entirely wrong. Humans were far stronger than anyone had predicted. They were resilient, adaptable, and powerful in ways that the Council could not measure. And the more Talix observed, the more he understood that the true strength of Earth's inhabitants was only beginning to reveal itself. The main hall of the station was alive with quiet movement. Humans walked steadily across the room, lifting tools, adjusting panels, and securing supports with calm precision. Each movement caused small vibrations, cracks forming and stabilizing in ways the Council's instruments could barely predict. Talix stood at the center, glowing brightly, cataloging every action, every tremor, and every subtle shift. He had spent hours observing them, and yet understood very little. Their strength, their resilience, and their calmness under environmental stress were beyond all known standards. Evan moved past him, carrying a crate heavier than most of the Council members thought a human could lift alone. He set it down on the reinforced floor, barely pausing, and adjusted the balance of the crate with one hand. Talrix's instruments went wild. Alarms beeped softly, recording forces beyond the predicted limits of human capacity. Evan glanced at Talix with a faint smile.
Nothing to worry about, just doing our work.
Your work destabilizes the environment. Every motion, every action exceeds calculated limits. How can you exist under conditions that should injure or collapse your structures? Lucas stepped over casually, carrying a support brace that bent slightly under its own weight. With bare hands, he lifted it and adjusted it into position. The instruments registered energy spikes far beyond any known threshold. "We get used to it," he said simply. "We survive because we live with it every day. That's all." Leah bent to secure a cracked panel, her hands steady and deliberate. Talix's sensors recorded the strain, yet she remained unharmed. "It's normal," she said quietly. "We just adapt. The world moves, and we move with it. That's life." Rhine, standing near Talix, whispered, "Sir, their actions are not just strong. They are instinctively precise. Every human here accounts for environmental forces we cannot calculate. Their ordinary movements are amplified into forces beyond any standard scale." Talrix's globe pulsed sharply. "Beyond calculation, beyond control. This species defies every model we have. Our classification of Earth as mild is completely wrong. They are extraordinary, unpredictable, and dangerous in ways we cannot measure." Evan walked toward a heavy console that had shifted slightly from earlier tremors. He lifted it effortlessly and secured it in place. "See? Nothing to worry about. Just routine." Talix's jaw flexed. "Routine for you is catastrophic by our standards. A sneeze cracked reinforced alloy. Ordinary tasks destabilize structures. How can your kind continue without harm? We've lived with this planet all our lives. We adapt naturally. That's how humans survive. You'll understand soon enough." A sudden tremor passed through the station. Alarms beeped. The walls shifted slightly, and instruments registered minor structural changes. Humans moved calmly, adjusting braces and panels without hesitation. Derek lifted a supply box to a high shelf, causing a spike in force readings. Talrix's sensors went into overdrive. "How do you withstand forces that should harm you?" Talrix demanded. Evan smiled faintly. "We grow used to it. We survive by adapting, not by fighting. The world challenges us, so we adjust. That's all." Rin whispered, "They are not only surviving, they are thriving. Their bodies, instincts, and awareness allow them to operate under environmental stress far beyond any known species. Each movement integrates these forces naturally." Talrix's hands flexed against his console. "Every ordinary action you take proves the Council's assumptions wrong. We underestimated you. We classified your planet as mild, yet your presence alters structures beyond expected limits. You are extraordinary."
Leah adjusted a support brace, bending it with bare hands. "We don't think about being extraordinary."
"We just do what's needed. The world isn't gentle. We survive because we have to." The humans move past a cracked wall, carrying tools and supplies. Each step, each lift, each gesture sent small vibrations through the station. The Council's instruments recorded them instantly, yet the humans remained calm and unaffected. Talrix's glow pulsed faster, a mix of tension and awe. "Existence itself is hazardous in your case. Your bodies withstand forces beyond calculated thresholds. You are strong, resilient, and adaptable in ways we cannot predict or measure. The Council underestimated you entirely." Lucas leaned casually against a support beam. "You're seeing what happens when you underestimate humans. Strength doesn't have to be flashy or loud. It's quiet, steady, and practical." "That's what you just experienced." Evan wiped his hands on his uniform. "We don't think of ourselves as strong. We just live and survive. That's all." Talrix's glowing eyes scanned the room, cataloging every detail. Each tremor, each flex, each subtle crack told a story of resilience honed over generations. The sneeze, the lifted crates, the bent braces, it had all been a demonstration of latent power that humans barely acknowledged themselves. Rin whispered, "Sir, the Council must reclassify Earth. Humans operate outside any scale we have used. Their endurance, adaptability, and strength cannot be measured. They are beyond prediction." Talrix's glow flared brightly, a mix of realization and tension. "Indeed, Earth is not mild. Its inhabitants are a force unto themselves. The Council assumed fragility, yet they are extraordinary. And the more we observe, the more we understand that ordinary human action is a test of environmental limits." Panels were adjusted, braces reinforced, and supplies moved with effortless precision. Every subtle shift, every movement, every small adjustment was a quiet display of strength. Talrix's mind raced. A sneeze had begun the observation, but the ongoing display of resilience was far more telling. Humans were not aggressive. They were not violent, yet their strength, their endurance, and their adaptability surpassed every known standard. Evan glanced at Talrix. "We're not trying to be impressive.
We just exist. We survive."
That's all." Talrix's glow dimmed slightly, then flared again. "Existence itself is dangerous in your case. Ordinary actions destabilize the environment, yet you remain unharmed. Your species exceeds all predictions. You are forces unto yourselves."
Lucas chuckled softly. "You'll see."
Humans survive because we must. Strength shows up quietly, in ways you didn't expect. The world tests us, and we respond. That's all. The station hummed with quiet life. Humans moved steadily, calmly, carrying out their tasks as alarms, and instruments recorded strain levels far beyond predicted thresholds. Each subtle action created forces that the humans barely noticed, but that the Council could not ignore. Talix cataloged every detail. Each tremor, each flex, each repaired crack was proof that humans could survive what no other species could. The Council's classification of Earth as mild had been wrong. Humans were far stronger than anyone had predicted. They were resilient, adaptable, and quietly powerful. A sudden vibration ran through the station. Alarms beeped softly. Humans adjusted braces and supports without hesitation. Talrix watched as Derek lifted a heavy panel and secured it, sending another spike through the instruments. Ryan whispered again, "Sir, their resilience and adaptability exceed all known measures. Humans cannot be predicted or controlled by our standards. Ordinary gestures have extraordinary impact." Talrix's glow pulsed rapidly. Extraordinary, unpredictable, beyond measure. Earth is not mild. Its inhabitants are forces unto themselves. The Council has underestimated them completely. Evan and the others moved calmly, carrying out their work as if the alarms and instruments had no meaning. Each action, each gesture, each lift was deliberate, precise, and effortless. Talix knew that this species had taught the Council a lesson in endurance, unpredictability, and quiet strength. The mountain around the station pressed firmly, stabilizing the structure as if acknowledging the human silent power. Each crack, each tremor, each adjustment spoke of survival and resilience. The Council realized that the true strength of Earth's inhabitants was only beginning to reveal itself. Talix turned to the Council members. "Reclassify this world. Humans are not mild. They are extraordinary, resilient, and powerful beyond any known measure. Their ordinary existence is a force that cannot be ignored." Rin nodded. "Agreed. Every human here demonstrates capabilities beyond prediction. Their endurance, adaptability, and strength redefine our understanding of living species." Talrix looked back at the humans, moving calmly and efficiently, carrying out their work with quiet confidence. A sneeze had started the observation, but now the full scope of human resilience was clear. Each movement, each subtle shift, each lift of heavy equipment was proof that humans were beyond the Council's expectations. Evan glanced at Talrix. "We're just living." "That's all we do." Talrix's glow flared one final time. "Living, yes. But your living has proven extraordinary. You are not mild. You are a force unto yourselves, and the galaxy will need to recognize it." The humans continued their work, unbothered by alarms or instruments, demonstrating quiet strength and resilience. Talrix recorded every detail, knowing that the Council had underestimated this planet and its people entirely. Earth was not mild. Its inhabitants were extraordinary, strong, and quietly unstoppable, and Talrix understood that nothing the Council had known about the galaxy could prepare them for the true force of humanity.